Good afternoon. Welcome to General Services Public Works Committee. Dan Gookin and me are here today. We're waiting for Councilman Miller. And starting right off, Mike Anderson from the wastewater treatment plant. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Woody. Councilman McEvers. It's my pleasure to present to you today. We're seeking to formalize, we're calling it policy number 720, and it formalizes what are the qualifications for low monthly sewer. Many of these qualifications are already listed in the ordinance, so they're already legally adopted. But what we were looking for was a single house to have all this information for the public, as well as our utility billing specialists. So I just want to quickly go over what is residential and residential low. So some of the differences are, as you can see here on this slide, money. It's about $50, or going to be in a couple of days. Our newly adopted rates are about $50 for residential and about $33 for residential low. Both of those include a fixed rate that counts for the actual billing and the paperwork, that side of the rates. The remainder is for actual wastewater usage. So you see the delineator here is 2,500 gallons. It's always been that way. We're maintaining that amount. So if you're less than 2,500 gallons per month as used in the wintertime, you can qualify for this low sewer. Our average, you can see during our rate study, we determined it's about 4,500 gallons per residential household. Total number of customers as well, you can see here this affects about 3,000 people or so. So I was hoping that you could read through this. The goal of it obviously was for a ratepayer to be able to read through this policy and understand it. So hopefully it was pretty obvious. But I went over some of the major qualifiers as well as disqualifiers. So in order to qualify, it has to be an owner-occupied home. You have to be a full-time resident. And then, of course, there's that volume amount of less than 2,500 gallons measured during non-irrigation months. It's what water is being used in December and January. You will be disqualified if you have 2 or more consecutive zero reads. To us, that means a zero read would mean you're likely not living there. So if you're not living there, this is only for full-time residents. Many people have a single zero read because that ticks off at 1,000 gallons. So if you use 500 gallons, it'll show 0. But 2 in a row, we're assuming you're not there. As well, rental properties. The reason we disqualify rental properties is that we don't know who's there. We know if the house changes ownership, we'll know because it comes through the utility billing department. But if you're renting it out, somebody could be using low sewer in the wintertime, and in the summertime they're not. It's rented out to somebody else and they're using a ton of sewer. We would have no idea. That's why we disqualify the rental properties. As we mentioned here, change of ownership. If you change ownership mid-year, if the person owned it, and these rates go out in May, if it's on low sewer in May and then changes ownership in July, that would all of a sudden disqualify the property because we don't know what the new person is going to be doing. And as well, seasonal use, that ties into full-time residents. So if you're a snowbird and you're not here in the wintertime using your property, we can't very well use what wastewater usage you've had to qualify you for low sewer. Those are some of the high-level qualifiers and disqualifiers, but beyond that, I'm curious to know if you have any questions on this policy.
Dan?
Hey, Woody, so this is just an update to the policy. We've already passed the ordinance.
Correct. It was just a place where we can hand it. If somebody comes in, what's low sewer, how do I qualify? We can print it out and give it to them rather than have them search through 19 pages of ordinance.
That's fair.
Thanks.
So is this automatic? If somebody's under the 2,500, they don't have to apply for it or anything like that?
That is correct. They will automatically go on or go off.
Okay. This has no impact on your cap fees?
Nope.
Hookup stuff, it's just on the month to month?
Correct.
And it's all legal easy, right?
That is correct. I have looked at it.
Okay. You're good with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been enjoying the low rate for years as my kids moved out of the house, and of course now I'm married again, and so, yeah. I will make a motion to recommend that council approve the wastewater policy 720 residential low monthly sewer rate qualifications, and we're going to put that on the agenda, so we are going to see you again.
It could go on the consent calendar, Sherry just thought.
Okay, well, I'd like to see, I think it can go on the consent calendar since this has already been, the ordinance is already approved.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, second. All in favor?
I
Moving on? You betcha. Justin, you're up.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
I'm here today to present a few items of equipment and vehicles that we feel are due for surplus. First up is one of a streets vehicle. This is a granular de-icer. You can see it's pretty well worn. It was a vehicle we got from the fire department and repurposed for our needs many years ago. Currently has some transmission problems, some brake problems, has a unique brake system, and parts are almost non-existent for it. Every year, we have trouble getting the brake system to work again on it, so I think this last round, we had to get them off eBay, and prior to that, it's from junkyards, if they have them to fix it, so we did repurpose the sander body, we took it off of it, so we can use it on another vehicle, but the vehicle itself is very worn out. This is one of our inspector vehicles. It's a 2005 Dodge. Has about 74,000 miles. It's in pretty rough condition. It actually burns quite a bit of oil and coolant, so it's having some mechanical problems. This is a building vehicle. It's got 108,000 miles. Also, it's in the picture, it's in worse condition than the picture looks for sure. It needs some front end work, and also the engine's not running very well in it either. A little less mileage on this one, 90,000 or so. Also, it's in poor mechanical condition. We have offered these up for some other areas in the city, and nobody has a need for them. This is a Parks wood chipper. The pictures shows it pretty well. I've personally fed this thing quite a bit of lumber behind it, so it was worn out years ago. The hydraulics are weak on it, the safety features are not working on it, so I think it has been replaced with a newer model already. 1990 2500, also the pictures, it's rotting out floorboards. Yeah. 1990 GMC, 255,000 miles. This one has been very well used.
Got our money's worth.
Also a lot of rusting in the floorboards, interior is pretty bad, and probably not worth the parts to fix it at this point. 91 Kubota tractor. Also, it's got quite a bit of wear on it. It's got a lot of hours, and I believe it's pretty much non-functional at this point. So we just recommend that you make these vehicles surplus, and we will sell them through auction.
Right?
Do you have any questions for these?
I have a couple. Just
Sure.
when you try and do a hand-me-down,
Yes, sir.
that's like it started in one department and moves to another. Where's the responsibility lie in the maintenance and stuff like that? Are you guys taking care of everything and then the departments just shuffle them around?
Exactly. So like us passing down the streets 203 to the Parks Department, we go through it completely, service it, get everything in perfect working order before we pass it down, and then we go from there.
Okay. So you've worn these out multiple times, it looks like, or they've lived longer than they're supposed to.
They do, yeah.
All right,
We've gotten a lot of life out of a lot of them.
all right. Look for a motion.
I'd move to recommend the council approve the declaration of vehicles as surplus and authorize sale at auction, and that can go on the consent calendar.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. From our streets departments, Todd's here to talk about money-saving asphalt.
Yeah, well, you can look at the weather outside. It's that time of year where we're getting antsy to do chip seal and asphalt repairs. So we have advertised for our chip seal for this season. And we are excited for the chaos that comes from doing chip seal, but it is well worth it. It adds a lot of life to our infrastructure. One thing our crew, I'll point out in this picture, we're out busy doing, if you see all the black lines, that is our crack sealing. So in another week or so, we will start. It's good always to start crack sealing this time of year when the roads are cold still, because the cracks are wider, so we can fill them. And then as it heats up, they close, and that we've got a good thickness of crack sealing material in there. So that's just a picture of what we're doing in front of the chip seal. Here's another picture. You can see some of the crack sealing right there. Moving forward, in the past, we've applied 80.1 lane miles since 2016 of chip seal. So you can kind of see by this map here, areas of town that we've been in. This last season, last summer, we did this section down here on Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive, a partnership with the Highway District. They did the chip for us, and we did some of the work as well, and it actually saved us quite a bit of money. But you can see by the different colors, highlighted areas where we've been. So moving forward this year, we're up in the northwest quadrant of town, but there's a section of Best that we would like to do that we feel is starting to slip away. So we'll be out making repairs to that from 4th Street on Best heading east to 15th Street. So that section will get some chip seal this year. We're doing mostly the main roads in the Hawk's Nest and the landings. So Hanley Avenue, Carrington, Johns Hawk, Talon, Newbrook, and Princetown. These are all roads that have some significant wear, and we feel it's the appropriate time to be in there and get them sealed back up with chip seal. We'll also be doing Corsellis Parkway, Prairie to Hanley Avenue, and we'll be doing Hanley Avenue from Corsellis to Atlas Road. And then we are going to do the section that we paved last summer, Kathleen Avenue from US 95 to 15th Street. It's important that we get in there this year and do the section from 95 to Government Way. To utilize chip seal effectively, we should be getting in the practice of, as we pave a road, the following year to maybe 2 years is when you chip seal them to seal the asphalt. This will give us a longer lifetime of the freshly paved road. Currently, we are trying to salvage the roads at the end of their life. It takes a bit more work. Here there's some tips to drivers. Just put it out. It's a great opportunity to share this stuff. It's a multi-stage process. It normally takes a few days of chaos, and then it's all put back together. It's important we follow traffic control directions. If traffic signals are not operational, by state law, they are still considered a four-way stop. Don't drive through the fresh oil. What to expect with the loose rock until the final sweeping, definitely reduce speeds, increase following distance, and motorcycles and bicycles always use caution. And then most importantly, through the process of chip seal is to expect delays. It takes a little bit of time. So I'd be looking for a recommendation awarding the 23 chip seal contract to Poe Asphalt. for $639,000. I would take any questions at this time.
Questions?
Thank you, Woody. Todd, we budgeted $1.5 million for this. Why are we spending only $639,000?
Thank you, Councilmember Gookin. I was hoping you would ask that question, actually. As we went through the bidding process and we were getting our plans together, we figured that engineer's estimate would be closer to $1 million. The numbers came in. We had 3 contractors looking at it. We were very pleased with this, so what we are excited for is this is our chip and overlay line. So now we are going to contract some paving in other areas to use up the rest of the funds available.
Good, because I wanted to make sure, one of the priorities here is we want to get ahead of the curve on the streets.
Correct.
We don't want our streets looking as bad as Spokane.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that we're going to be, using that money to fix.
Yes.
And so I guess we are. The rest of it's going to be used for spot.
Overlay and inlay asphalt is
Okay.
what we're looking at. We have some sections that we really would like to get in there. With the amount we have, it's actually going to allow us to hire a contractor to do some of it instead of putting it all on our team. We have a lot of areas we want to pave this year in-house, but now we'll be able to expand our overlay program, so we're really,
Are you going to be coming back to us with that then?
yes, we will.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good to hear. Thank you.
I was kind of surprised to see the landing already getting some efforts, and now I understand the ideal situation is to overlay sooner when things are built. Landings, Hawk's Nest, and then I was thinking about Riverstone, that we had to go in and rework on their roads. And I keep looking at, doesn't things last 20 years anymore? Or
Sure does feel
our
like it.
standards, we have always kind of approached things on a minimum, the compaction and all the things we talk about all the time about roads not lasting. Is that something that would make any difference in our roads lasting longer if when we build a road that the standards aren't minimum, that there may be at least a half again? Is that something we've ever thought about?
Yes, it is the problem, like Riverstone, which you brought up, last year when we opened it up, we found that there was several areas that were less than 1.5 inches thick. Our standard minimum would be 2 inches. So it's a very thin mat. There's been a lot of growth down there, so another part of the problem is the size of trucks driving on a thin mat year-round, 12 months out of the year through the freeze and thaw. We found other areas. Newbrook is listed here. We're going to try and do some paving there. There are some thin spots. To answer your front part of the question, that development, depending on the phase that it was, is anywhere from 12 to 19 years old out there by the landings in Hawk's Nest. So we would have liked them to last longer, but there are some of the roads out there that really need attention now, so.
So load limits, we don't do that in our city, right? And so they can keep doing construction in the winter with trucks and stuff like that? Is that
So
part of the battle?
currently, we don't. I've been researching that the last 6 to 8 months. I feel that the city of Coeur d'Alene does need load limits, but we haven't, I would bring that to council for that decision at the right time, but currently, you're correct, we do not have load limits.
Okay, and then I noticed we're doing Hanley out there at the same time. Do the streets in neighborhoods are different than, say, a arterial like Hanley, or are they the same minimums?
Well, arterials would be a thicker mat. Collectors and in the residentials, we don't require as much asphalt. These are more of the bigger streets close to these residentials, so we will be doing the same size chip as we would have done on Atlas or Ramsey, Kathleen, which would be a 1/2 inch chip versus, you can do 3/8 or even smaller. But,
Yeah, you guys have exploring the size of the chips over the last couple of years, haven't you?
yes, I would, if I had to guess, up to 5 years. I mean, it was in place. We've been doing a lot of testing, I guess you would say, through the last 5 years.
I appreciate you guys thinking about this stuff. I remember long ago, it was a pretty major part of the budget overlay, and it was very systematic. And then, you know, we kind of start falling behind when things get in trouble. You guys kind of give it up a little, you know.
Oh, we really, I want to do as much as we can this year with the budget we have. So my goal is to try and make a noticeable difference.
Perfect.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Looks good. Any questions? You're
No,
good.
no,
Let's
nothing
go.
beyond that, but I'll make I will recommend that council accept the bid and award of contract to Poe Asphalt and Paving for the 2023 chip seal project to the amount of $639,000. I'd also like to see that on the agenda, because I think it's important that people know that we are paying attention to the streets
Okay?
Good idea.
and the good job you guys do.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I second it. And all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
I don't know what it was called, but it should be on that list.
And a guy we never hear from, Ted from the building department.
That's the F-drive one.
This is what fascinates me.
Good afternoon, council. Apologize, I don't have this pulled up yet.
I want to know how big a
They
real,
haven't been here so often, they don't know how to use the
that's right.
computer.
We don't know how to drive yet.
Projects first.
I want to know how big a 2x4 really is. These guys know that kind of
It's
stuff.
no longer a nominal 2x4. so-
We've gone metric.
There should be a project.
Metric, no.
3.5 by 1.5, I'll tell you that. I know this.
You're asking the last guy that you should ask.
Thanks for helping him, Todd.
Where's projects? Go down a little more.
You know, Troy, pay attention here when Todd does his review, because he's being very helpful.
Maybe we'll just let Todd drive for now.
No. No, I just gotta find it. I don't know where you put it.
Just got to find it. Well, then we'll win our record meeting. Just kidding.
Sorry, now we're gonna be over your 7 minutes, Woody. Why didn't I see it? Maybe Juanita knows where it is.
Spring
We
clean.
started that today, by the way.
Great.
It's not that one. There should be a. This is why I always come early, Ted. There should be a folder for you. What was? Let's back out. And then right, we're right there. Let's do this.
Sorry about this dead time, Jeff. You could put some music on or something.
Someone else might have to help me find it. I don't.
I could tell a joke I heard in a bar last night. So that, no.
This kind of feels like Shark Tank. You know?
Feels like
They
something,
cut this
doesn't it?
part out, though, you know.
$100,000 for 4%.
It's not live on Shark Tank. They edit this part out. Are we looking for the pictures?
Yeah,
The PowerPoint.
Yeah, there's a
Oh, you have a
presentation
PowerPoint.
here.
but there should be a projects folder and I just didn't see it.
Can you pull it out of the packet? It's in the packet.
I just don't see
It just,
the
it
projects
makes a
folder
big
went.
difference. I
Yeah,
read
I
the
don't
staff
see it
report,
either.
and of course, when you see the
Anita,
pictures,
isn't
it
there
makes more
normally a
sense.
projects
Absolutely,
folder in the
absolutely.
F drive? That's what I was looking for and I just am missing it, I guess.
Here comes a
A
techie.
presentation,
Isn't it under, let's see,
let's see, presentations, parks,
go to presentations.
PowerPoint, planning. I just don't see it.
Oh, that folder looks weird.
It does, this is the F drive.
Yeah, that's the way he has it.
It's already, yeah. I just don't see the presentations folder.
Well, we might have to move forward without a PowerPoint if you,
PowerPoint templates.
Do you?
Um,
Planning, PowerPoint.
I can kind of look for it while he
Okay.
starts if you want.
That'll work.
Oh, here comes wastewater to the rescue.
Yeah, I was just gonna,
Tech Mike.
I don't know where it is, I don't know what you're looking for, but I do want to do that.
no worries.
Chip seal surface on consent agenda.
to the streets department, the legal department, wastewater department.
What's that?
Did you guys save it to that folder, the presentations folder?
And we submitted it to Sherry.
Yeah.
Well, she may not have put it in there.
Okay.
Let's get
Okay.
fire and police in here too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I apologize. It looks like our presentation's not in here, so we'll just go ahead and move forward. Yeah, thank you, council. Appreciate your time this afternoon. What we are looking to do is we have a project that we've been working on for the last several years. This goes back to October of 2020. When we first received notification from our code enforcement, we had a home on 113 East Indiana that had apparently homeless people living in the backyard. And they were camped in the backyard for some time and then eventually had gained access into the home. This particular location, it happens to reside next to the Bluebird daycare, just off of Indiana. And after we actually had code enforcement secure the home, for a time they had moved out. And the next thing we had was in April of '21, we did receive information from the daycare that the roof and part of the roofing material was falling into the neighboring yard, as well as the bricks were falling into the daycare. Keith Clements, he was the inspector that worked with the owner and the owner's sister, I believe. The owner had fallen ill and actually was not able to reside in the home. He's now in a nursing home. And so the home essentially is just in disrepair and especially the roof. Wish I could show you the slides because they were pretty good. The bricks that were falling into the yard were, the home sits so close to the property line, anything that fell off that roof went right into the neighboring daycare. And so Keith worked with the owner's sister and managed to get that secured. And so the bricks were removed, the chimney was removed. We again received another notification of January of this year. Again, we had roof falling into the neighboring yard. We had the tarp that was coming off the roof, it was blowing into the neighboring yard. We had was a tarp that was bound up around the power lines into the home. And so now we had a potential for a fire hazard. Keith had spoke with the owner's sister and she said she didn't have any money to put into the home. And so we did file a notice to abate on February 3rd. And so we did move forward with an abatement on the home. The owner was given 30 days to appeal that abatement. The owner and the owner's sister chose not to appeal the abatement. Keith was working closely with them at the time. After which, we did give the approval for Cannon Hill to remove the home. And the home was removed on March 13th of this year. And so what we are seeking is approval and a request to file a lien against the property. And this will allow the city to recoup any funds that was spent towards the removal and demolition of the home.
All right. Questions, Dan?
Yes, thank you, Woody. Why isn't the city just condemning the property?
Why is the city just condemning the?
Are we condemning the property?
We did, yes.
Oh, so it's all condemned?
It's all condemned.
Okay,
Yeah.
and, oh, there's
There's my
slides.
presentation. Thank you.
You want to go ahead and narrate those then? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so the first one we have here is just the location. As you can see, it's located right next to the Mountain Bluebird Center, and across the street is another Christian daycare. We actually had some transients camping right here in the backyard. It was pretty secluded back there, so it was pretty tough to see from the street.
Can you take it to full screen?
Press the F5 key.
Yeah, I'll learn how to drive yet.
That was F1. Yay.
All right, and so these are just a couple photos. This shows proximity, how close the building was to the property line.
So that's not in compliance, is it?
No,
The
it's not
setbacks.
currently in compliance.
What's the square footage on this house?
Keith, do you know?
It was probably 900.
Just 900 square feet, okay. Is it a standard city lot?
I would say yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so this photo was taken after the chimney was removed. We have, it still had a tarp that was left on there. At some point, the tarp covered the entire roof. This was as of January of '23. As you can see in the photos, there's the shingles are falling from the roof. They had an existing shake roof underneath, and so once you try to nail shingles to shake, they don't hold up for all that long. Both roofs had been there for some time.
Are we looking at it from the daycare side?
This is from the alley.
But on the right, is that the daycare here? So you can see how the stuff's kind of
Yes, this is from the
falling into the
daycare.
yard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where the tarp was wound up around the wiring next to the weatherhead.
Mm.
And again, this is another photo farther back from the daycare. And, yeah, this is just a copy of the abatement notice that we filed. And this is what it looks like today.
So the house is gone,
House is gone.
and we tore down the house?
Cannon Hill.
But we paid for it.
We paid for it.
Now we want our money back through a lien on the property.
Correct.
So when the property gets sold, is it already encumbered? Do we know if it's encumbered at all?
Currently, they're not encumbered.
Okay,
But likely, since the owner is in a nursing home, it'll likely be the state that will
Okay.
come in and take over.
all right, so we get our money back when this thing is sold.
Right.
Right. Yep.
And you guys do this very often? I just can't remember much of this type of thing happening.
So we actually had two prior, last year. We had two prior to this one. This one just happens to be paid for by the city. The other two, we did work with the owners, and they took down the homes themselves.
Oh, nice.
The last one I think the city did was roughly 20 years ago.
Wow.
So
we don't do this very often.
We don't use the word condemn? Is that what I feel like you're not saying that word? Is that,
Well-
you guys changed the language?
Yeah, it's listed under abatement. And so,
Abatement.
yeah, it's abatement of dangerous buildings.
Sounds better, doesn't it? You good, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good. I do want to see this on the agenda because it's fascinating. We don't do this enough, and
Right.
I think it's really responsible for the city to go ahead and take care of stuff like this. So I'd like to see that, like to have more exposure for you guys. And we'll have the slideshow all lined up.
I guarantee it'll all be all lined up ahead of time next time.
Yeah, you
So-
did a great job with the pictures, really showed the issue,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and it's nice that you could help some people out, you know? It's kind of nice.
So I appreciate that. I would like to recommend that council authorization to file a $16,500 lien against the property located at 113 East Indiana. Is that address correct? It's 113.
113 East Indiana.
113 East Indiana, to cover the cost of abatement and demolition of a dangerous building.
Second, moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we're going to put that on the agenda. You guys practice.
All
Good
right,
job.
Thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, I need a,
Motion to adjourn.
so moved, second,
Out of here.
out of here. Good night.